right, everybody. So I am joined today by former UFC featherweight fighter and current real life superhero, Phillipe Nover. So Phillipe, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for reaching out to me.
No, of course we had to hit you up because we know you are really in the thick of it right now with all this COVID-19 madness going on. So what can you tell us about, what you've been doing?
Well, when the pandemic first hit New York, or even the coming, I would say, week or two before we started getting these cases, we were preparing in the hospital. This was a few weeks ago, and then finally, when it hit, our unit was in the thick of things. I'm in the cardiology area where we would do interventional cardiology, where we do stents. We would do things not related to COVID, but our unit was dispersed to either the emergency room or a code team, which I was a part of both. And a few weeks ago, we were in the thick of it. We were very busy. We didn't have the travelers that were signed up quite yet, and it was about 2 weeks that we were really in the thick of it, where it was very busy, codes left and right, 90 or more percent COVID patients throughout the entire hospital. But actually, in the last week and a half, there's a very big downtick. The ER has been quiet. The units have been accepting non-COVID patients, and we have come to a pretty good time in the hospital where we're starting to focus on treating non-COVID patients and allowing us to provide care for the general community and the issues that we already have before the COVID. So that's a good sign.
No, definitely. That is amazing news to hear because, we're all locked in our houses and we know, like, well, at least I know, I'm only seeing part of it. So I can only imagine. And just to hear that it's kind of a steady decline because that's what we're hearing, but I don't really know what to believe sometimes. So
Yeah.
hear from you, that's good. I trust it. So like what was your workload like? I mean, like what was your schedule like? Were you constantly in the hospital?
Well, the first when it hit New York pretty hard, probably I would say maybe 3-4 weeks ago, it started hitting New York very hard, and I was pretty much working every day. I'm a young guy. I don't have any risk, so I was willing and able to go into the COVID units as much as possible, get sent to the emergency room, um, and be in the thick of things without, because I feel, I mean, there are very rare chances of young people getting sick from this and actually having fatal outcomes. I've seen it. It's very rare. It does happen, which is very scary. But I also have a lot of coworkers that overcame it and got sick, or even some very rare even tested positive, but are not sick at all. So, being that I'm young and, I think I have a strong immune system. And so I just signed up for as much shifts as possible, overtime, worked every day, on call, worked in the cath lab, worked in the ER, worked in the code team. So I was pretty much exposed to all of it. And luckily, I was tested recently and I'm negative. So,
Wow.
I'm happy about that.
No, definitely. That's amazing because you were right in there, literally on the front lines. So how did you do anything special to keep yourself healthy, or like, are there any tips you could just like, daily little things for people?
I would say that strengthening your immune system probably it's gonna take time, and it's not like a magic pill or something. Like I see a lot of people like, oh, I'm gonna drink these shakes, I'm gonna like do this and that. It probably takes a few, I would say, months to years to develop a strong immune system. It probably goes hand in hand with a lifestyle. So I keep my exercise routine up, although I miss jujitsu, I miss training, and I'm not at the gyms or at all. But I do exercise at home. Occasionally, I go for my jogs. I'm a fan of eating as healthy as I can. I also am a fan of intermittent fasting.
Hmm.
Um, and I wear PPE, the best PPE I could find. It's an investment. I just find my own. My hospital does provide adequate PPE to an extent, but it's rationed, and you have to like be very careful. So I have like this crazy mask that I wear.
I've seen
And
it.
I got a connection for some of my colleagues too, so we were able to buy these masks on our own and change out their P100 filters. So that, along with I even do sauna. And now there's no specific study about sauna um, with COVID-19. I know there was I think it was the Polish president or prime minister said that drink sauna. I mean, drink vodka and sit in the sauna and you won't get COVID. I don't think that's true, but I do think I think it promotes health. I think that I'm lucky enough. I have a sauna that I built in my house, so I do that probably every other day after my shift. I sweat everything out,
Wow.
and there's definitely positive results with that. I'm not saying that it's medically gonna stop COVID or anything, but I think it helps me relax after a long shift. And there are studies and research on toxins being removed from your body, as well as these thermoregulatory proteins and all kinds of good things. So I add that into my life. Luckily, I don't have to use the gym to go to the sauna. I have mine right behind me. See
Oh wow. I'm gonna need one of those. That's cool.
yeah.
That's really cool. How long do you stay in there for?
Just about 20 minutes.
Oh wow.
So it's a cool thing. It's a lucky thing to have, I guess, in the pandemic, because
Mhm.
any gym equipment or any of these things is non-accessible. And I'm lucky I have that and a few weights in my house, and so that's my routine.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. Everyone I speak to is like, yeah, same thing. I'll stretch, I'll run. It's just like maybe lift some. It's not the same. But I
Yeah.
mean, so you've fought many, many men, and now you're fighting COVID. What's the harder fight? Fighting in the
Oh
cage
man.
or fighting in the hospital?
I would say there's no harder fight than fighting another professional fighter who wants to kick your ass. I do
True.
feel, yeah, I definitely feel the stress of working in an environment, and obviously my own health being at risk. It's kind of similar that you're in a fight in the cage, but nothing nothing beats that feeling and that scary feeling and the adrenaline and everything when you're actually competing in in the octagon, fighting someone who's gonna try to kick your head off. So, but there are intense situations at work, and the ability to stay focused in both situations is important. So, but I say, it is a big fight. It's a fight for my community and fight for New Yorkers, and I'm glad to be part of it. But I think if I compare as far as a personal level, what's scarier, I would say it's probably scarier to step into a cage and get kicked in the head.
That's kind of relieving considering I'm probably never going to have to do that. So I don't mind that answer. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure you've been seeing all the fight talk going on, Fight Island. What are your thoughts about, UFC fight events going on during this pandemic?
I say it was a little early to get it started. I know Dana was thinking about getting something started. I think it's been like a week ago.
Hmm.
I think it was a bit early. I even think that their fight that they held in Brazil, their last event, was a little premature, and put some of the athletes at risk as the trainers. Even not having the audience there, I think that was a little early. But I think that this fight coming up, I think they're getting everyone tested, and they're taking the precautions, which is important. So ultimately, we have to have some sports going on. I mean, I'm getting cabin fever myself, so we're gonna have to start somewhere. And I know this is a big opportunity for the UFC too coming up, because there's nothing else going on. We can't watch anything.
Exactly.
So
It's
I'll
like
be watching.
Monopoly.
Yeah.
All eyes on UFC. I'm sure Dana loves it, and I'm sure that's what's really pushing him so hard. I mean, it's true, but would you take a fight during all this?
You know what? I'd have to think about that. I mean, if I was lucky enough uh, later on in my career that I wasn't fighting necessarily for the money actually was there, and I was happy getting paid to do what I love to do, but I wasn't supporting myself and paying my mortgage and my bills with the money. It was sort of extra because I had another career. But if I was a full-time fighter, like 99.9% of the UFC fighters or professional athletes out there in the UFC, they're relying on this money coming in, and at any given opportunity, if the UFC calls for a fight, then I would have to say yes. You know, it's time to go. You know, I would say I would just be as precautious as cautious as possible. And even after the fight and everything, just quarantine, not see any high risk population people in the time being. So I think ultimately we're going to have to go out into the public. We're going to have to interact with each other and kind of separate. If some of the high risk population is going to have to kind of separate. It's sad, but that's the truth.
When do you think would be a better time to start talking about maybe doing events realistically, instead as compared to this weekend essentially?
I would say, I mean, when the government says okay, and I know that different states are opening up, so maybe they can start promoting events there without the crowd. I think that's I think the time is coming now. I've noticed the downtick in at least the epicenter. New York City is the epicenter, and I work in the city, so we are seeing a downtick. Maybe it's time to see what we could do, opening up the economy piece by piece and allowing some sporting events to occur. We'll see what happens. I'd say mid-May is actually probably the prime time to do it.
So speaking of the fights on Saturday, who do you have, Gaethje or Ferguson?
Oh wow, it's a big fight. I think that Tony Ferguson is going to have the advantage. It's going to be fireworks. They're both spectacular fighters. I just think that Gaethje's chin might be a little questionable with how many fights he's had that are brutal, and he's taken so much on the chin. Tony Ferguson also has taken a lot of brutality in his fights. It's pure violence, both of these guys. But I think that Tony is just maybe has a bit more of a chin left than Gaethje. Either way, this is going to be fireworks. This is going to be violent. This is going to be blood. That's what everyone's expecting. I think Tony Ferguson's going to come out a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. That's what I was saying the other day. I feel like in any given moment, this would have been like fight of the night type of matchup. So especially considering I guess in some places they can still train, but I feel like maybe the training won't be as up to par. It might be a little brutal. I don't know. Saturday might look a little crazy. I'm thinking. Yeah. I don't know.
I think so too. I mean, training. I've been talking to some of my friends who are fighting, and training's a lot different. Obviously, people are just meeting in garages. Some people have access to the gym on the down low, but you're not going to get like the thorough, full training camp of all these guys. And I mean, it also could maybe decrease the chances of injuries. Maybe guys will come in there a little more fresh, instead of having to go and over spar. A lot of MMA fighters overtrain and over spar, so maybe the show will have a little more energy. It could possibly be.
Yeah, true that, or they'll get gassed early
because they couldn't train hard enough.
Exactly, that would be me. I'd be like, all right, I'll be there. Just give me. Yeah, no, that's a lie. I give you guys credit. I say it all the time. Even with like quarantine snacks, I would be eating everything. I would just be like,
there's nothing else to do. Just keep eating.
It's straight up hibernation mode. I mean, the weather's nice now, finally in New York. So
yes,
getting back to work. But speaking of the weather the weather being nice, once COVID is all, well, not all over, but mostly clear, what's the first thing you want to do, first place you're trying to hit up, or the first thing you're trying to eat?
Oh, wow. Well, I've had this craving for just some Chinese takeout, and all the Chinese takeout spots closed in Brooklyn. A
Same
few
here.
open. I was lucky to get my hands on some General Tso's chicken. I know it's not healthy, but man, I am starving for this. I found a spot that's open. It was okay, but I really want my original spot to open. So I'm looking for some of the Chinese takeout, and I just want to sit in a restaurant, probably a steakhouse, maybe Peter Luger's, have a nice steak dinner with my fiance. We haven't gone out to eat and enjoyed her birthday, which was
Oh,
in March. So happy birthday to her.
exactly.
And
Reschedule.
yeah, we
Postpone.
rescheduling that. So we're looking forward to a steak dinner. And we were supposed to go to Greece, believe it or not, actually. And those tickets, everything's canceled. So maybe we'll do Greece, I don't know, another time. But who really knows how long this is going to exist, because we're also discussing a second wave type of situation, a mutation type of situation, because it is an influenza virus which mutates just like the seasonal flu. So we're looking at could be a very different lifestyle we'll be living in the next couple of years, people are saying. So um, we just got to go piece by piece. So, but those those are the things that are rescheduled.
No, definitely. Definitely get on that Greece trip.
Yeah.
I've never been, but
Really?
I hear it's amazing. I see the pictures. I love to travel. When do you think we could start, start looking
Yeah.
up flights and having those convos again?
I mean, it's all speculative now. I would say a lot. Probably the travelers, obviously the initial and current travelers are business people who have to do it regardless. I know the travel industry is respecting like the every other seat type of situation, wear a mask type of thing. And then we'll probably see an uptick in travel once they allow recreational travel to happen. But it will probably be with the low risk population, younger people who are a little healthier, and people just who might are willing to take a risk. Um, Being that I was exposed so much to it, and my fiance, who's a nurse anesthetist,
Oh, wow.
she's exposed to it constantly at work too. So between the two of us, and we're both negative, so I think that we're ready to travel. I mean, as long as we wear a mask, and I don't think we're carriers, and we're not coughing at other people, and we don't feel sick. So I think we'll be willing to travel. So hopefully maybe August, September.
Hoping. Shoot, you guys
Yeah.
deserve it. Working hard out there, saving lives, do it. Oh, while the rest of us sit at home. No, it's amazing. Thank you. On behalf of all of us sitting on our couches, thank you. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. We need people like you. Is there
Thank you.
anything else you want to mention or promote or speak about?
I think I just would like to give a shout out to my colleagues at work, and all the healthcare workers and all the essential workers out there. The whole country is relying on not only healthcare but the food industry, delivery services, firemen, FDNY, EMS. Like everyone is involved in keeping the city somewhat functional, in keeping the economy somewhat functional. And I really look forward to opening up. And when we do open up, I hope everyone stays safe.
Hmm.
Don't go too crazy. Wear your mask. Be respectful. You know. So we'll see what happens.